Hello. Welcome to the stream, everybody. Happy Monday. It's Monday, right? Yeah. Happy Monday. You can see that we are now back in the content chamber. So the audio quality is markedly better now. How are we today? I am having a good time. I'm ready to get some more progress done on this project here. We're doing more world building stuff for my homemade card game today. I have been working on it off stream. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to this point, necessarily. But the thing is, I ordered a copy of my game, which will get to me like late May. Right. Yeah, late May. And I'm making that like my deadline to finish the lore. Cuz by the time I get the game, if the lore's done, then everything will be done. So, yeah. Let me move it on over. And I wanted to try something different with the background music today. Normally I'd use that, what I have been doing is using the Dunk's algo music, like to make randomly generated music, because I didn't want to get like copyright claimed or whatever. But not even, well, two things. One, it doesn't even matter if I get copyright claimed, because I don't have enough of a viewer base to actually like put ads on my YouTube VODs anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. And I found a stream on YouTube, like it's like a stream music, like a music stream, and I figured anything on there is probably fair game if it's being streamed itself. So I found a, let me turn it on. I found a chiptune radio. If you're interested, this is the random chiptune radio 24/7 music stream on Krell's channel. So shout outs to Krell's. Let me know if it's too loud or not. But yeah, this should be much easier listening than algo music. Especially since I know that YouTube won't just randomly crash. Slightly louder. How's that? I think my microphone level is just about right. If anything, it might be a little loud. Well, thanks. I appreciate that, I guess. But alas, I am but a man. Homemade card game? My goal is to make a card game. because like, you know, I've always had somewhat like some aspirations of game design, but I never really followed through on that. But I figured making a tabletop game, I don't need to, know any programming or anything like that. So I wanted to try my hand at making a card game. What's the game about? It's about artists. Well, hold on. It's about, like, do you mean like in universe, I guess. The card game is about, you play as artists who use like the power of their artistic ability to fight egos. Like, you know Kingdom Hearts. If you know anything about Kingdom Hearts, they're kind of like heartless, right? But instead of being made out of darkness, they're made out of like ego. Like they're monsters made out of the like the ego of a one particular person, I guess. The lore, here's the thing. I know the lore, but being asked to explain it, it's I mess it up. It's definitely very unique. Well, yeah, I wanted to make a card game that doesn't have like, because a lot of it's usually like, sci-fi or fantasy or whatever. I wanted to, spice it up with a unique theme. Now, the game design part is done. I have the actual game part itself made, but right now I'm working on the extra stuff, namely like the lore that I want to attach to it. A bit of a world building exercise. So this is like a journal written by a character in universe, sort of describing the background of the world and the events of the set, I guess, the base set. Is there a way for me to ignore this permanently? After marveling at this. I keep having to ignore it once every time. So there's two parts, right? There's the account, which is like the story narrative part, and there are biographies, like miniature little blurbs about each character. I've been writing the account portion off stream, and I wanted to read the part that I wrote since the last time, but I don't remember where it left off. I think it was... That needs to be tabulated. He looked at me and smiled, although... Yeah, I don't remember where he left off. How do you play? So it's rather unorthodox how the game works. I thought I had the rule book linked to... I thought I had a link to the rule book somewhere. I'll do my best to describe how the game works. So you have it's PvP VE, right? So it's you, an opponent, and you each have a collection of artists that you put on the board next to each other. And you each contribute to a pool of enemies that you both have to that you both had to defeat. And basically, the basic premise is that you and your opponent are racing to defeat a certain amount of enemies first before the other guy does. And your artists are able to use different works and different techniques to affect both other artists and the egos, which are the enemies. That's the basic rundown. I have the full rules drafted, but I guess I forgot to link them into the about area. But there's a lot of nitty gritty kind of stuff to it. I think, like, it sounds cool. Well, thank you. I'm glad that you that you think so. I'm planning on, once it's done, to put it on the Games Crafter and maybe a tabletop simulator version as well. Where did I leave off? Did I really write this much? I don't want to start from the beginning, because that'll take like all stream. Just think about how one would make this in a board game sim. Got rid of the green light program. Oh, they did? I didn't even know that. I guess I hadn't heard about Greenlight in a while. I guess it just had too bad of a reputation, huh? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna start from the beginning. So the basic, what you need to know, there's a little bit of background up above, but they got rid of it and just gave up. Well, that's sad. Skipping my comments for some reason. No worries. All right, I don't remember where I left off, so I'm just gonna read it from the beginning. So this is written from the perspective of a character named Kara Perpin, who is traveling to this country called Mieus in order to find out some stuff about her her grandfather, since there was a lot of she's a storyteller and author. She's interested in learning more about the life of her grandfather, because he didn't share much about it when he was alive. So here's the part 1 of the personal account. On the 8th of July, 2022, I arrived in Mieus by plane, and its wonders were made apparent even from thousands of feet in the air. Architecture of various historical and experimental styles rose into the sky, each spire and rooftop marking the center of a distinct patch of the city. The typical skyscraper gray you would expect on the modern buildings of such a metropolis was replaced with shades of orange and blue, their national colors. Combine that with the added decoration laid over the city in preparation for the grand showcase in only a couple of days, and one may be forgiven for thinking they were touching down in a micronation-sized theme park. After marveling at this sight for some time, I spotted the talk of that year's festival, the Babylopticon, a complex of enormous, intricate, and interconnected towers that would serve as the arena for the year's events. A central tower linked to 6 smaller towers radially via huge arches, which contained transport systems that carried people in 30 to 40 person pods, similar to Ferris wheel cars. The most amazing aspect was that the 6 smaller towers were able to suspend themselves in the air, with nothing to support them but the central tower and its arches. From the distance I was viewing it, it had the general shape of a palm tree, or perhaps an umbrella. At the time, this was a common criticism against it and garnered some, admittedly, humorous ridicule online, though it was certainly much more impressive in person. Regardless of these voicings, when the plan and proof of concept were displayed at the 149th Mieus Grand Showcase in 2006, its designer, architect LeCarl Henmore, handedly won Best in Discipline and has served on the Mieusian Senate since, seeing his vision to completion. I arrived at the airport and met with the people who would be my hosts for the duration of my stay, an elderly man named Vincent and his wife, Harper. Vincent and Harper drove me to their home. It was a very slow trip, since most Mieusians walk from place to place, and foot traffic increased tenfold on and around the week of the showcase. I didn't mind, as it was all the better to admire the scenery. On ground level, the city was a marvel. It seemed that on each wall was either a mural or a street performer, and the dress of the common pedestrian was just as diverse and eccentric as the rest of the city. I had an idea of what I was getting into prior to my visit, but even still, it was overwhelming for the first few hours. Vincent and Harper had lived in Mieus since being born in the late 1930s, living through 21 separate showcases, as well as the destruction wrought by Hurricane Meredith. When we arrived at their home, I did my best to hold off on asking any of the 1,000 questions I had circling around in my head. I figured it would be rude for a guest to interrogate their host before even seeing the house, so I bit my tongue. Their home was a cozy space, fit for 2 people who don't mind being close to each other. The front door opened up into the living room, which flowed uninterrupted into the kitchen that doubled as the dining room. To the right was a short hallway with doors on either side, one for the bedroom, one for the bathroom, one for a small office space. And one for a small office space. I'd be setting up in the living room and sleeping on the couch. I didn't mind. It was my favorite room in the house. The room felt like a microcosm of the city, speckled with a spectrum of colors and shapes in every direction and crevice. They seemed to possess an artifact or artwork from every conceivable culture, but it was hard to tell if they were well-traveled or if the city was simply that cosmopolitan. But the living room was special. It seemed that it served as their studio of sorts, with many of their own unfinished pieces being strewn about in obscure places. After receiving the tour, I got my opportunity to speak with the couple about my grandfather. In 1965, Hurricane Meredith reached Mieus, and although it had lost much of its strength by the time it arrived, it was still able to cause significant damage to the city. At the time, my grandfather was 25 years old, and he was a member of the United Nations Peace Corps. His assignment was to help recover any pieces of artwork that may have survived the storm, and submit them to a restoration team. Vincent and Harper met him one day, while volunteering to search the rubble of the Graer, a former fine arts museum. They remembered him for the way he immediately began speaking to them, as if they were already friends. "He greeted us like we were old pals who hadn't met in years," Vincent told me. "His Italian wasn't very good, but he sure was confident." Shortly after being introduced, Harper heard a small voice. Shortly after being introduced, Harper heard a small voice from amongst the rubble. She notes that this was especially alarming, since it was known that the museum was closed the day it came down, and no one expected anyone to have been inside. The trio hurried to the sound's origin to find the smallest glimpse of a young boy underneath the rocks. "It was miraculous," Harper said. "He was inside a pocket of the rocks. We could only see a portion of his face, but we knew he was terrified." The boy spoke English, but his fear transcended language. My grandfather took the initiative to stay with the boy and comfort him as Vincent and Harper went for help. Actually, you know what? That should be a tab. There we go. We don't know what they said to each other, but whatever it was, it calmed the kid down, Vincent explained. Your granddad really seemed to be able to make friends with anyone, Harper added. After my grandfather left with the rescue team, Vincent and Harper claimed that they never met him again. However, they told me that a friend of theirs named Melvin Mondo volunteered on that same rescue team, and that he was participating in the grand showcase in a couple of days. With that, we settled in for the rest of the evening, but my relaxed attitude was a facade. Now that I was finally there, my excitement could hardly be contained. Sunday could not come soon enough. On Saturday, I was treated to a proper tour of the city by my hosts. Although a number of locations were closed in preparation for the grand showcase, the three of us managed to cover a lot of ground. We walked through the Greer too, enjoyed a night of music by the scintillating Amavelli Tutlio, and finished off the evening sharing a bottle of Cremette de Raquette. The day was uneventful otherwise, but learning the lay of the land would prove to be useful later. The next morning was the official first day of the showcase. Normally it might have been extremely difficult to decide where to start first, but I remembered that I had a goal in mind. I resolved to locate the area dedicated to the School of Crafting, where Melvin Mondo was likely to be. Vincent and Harper elected to stay home, not wanting to deal with the hustle and bustle, a sentiment that I would come to understand. Driving to the showcase would have been impossible. From half a mile away, the streets were packed so tightly that one could not see the stones of the road underfoot. The walk up to the Babylopticon was a task, but the final stretch of the journey, during which the complex was dead ahead, was like something from a dream. The scale of the structure is impossible to capture with words or photography. Such awe did it inspire that on more than a dozen occasions, I witnessed festival goers falling backwards onto the ground from the combination of attempting to find the top of the building and the dizziness that followed. I tried it myself and had to look away for fear of joining the befallen travelers and embarrassing myself too. It is a sensation that I imagine is similar to what astronauts experience when they see the Earth from orbit, or when explorers discover the Grand Canyon for the first time. A map that was provided online indicated that the central tower was the Calcucotti Tower of Craftsmanship and Invention. Once I passed the threshold into the tower, the difficulty of my task became soberingly clear. I was greeted by rows upon floors of exhibits and displays, broken up only by staircases, escalators, and elevators. It calls into question how anybody was supposed to be able to see everything within a week, let alone experience it all enough to make a sound judgment as a voter. Consulting the map's directory, Melvin was listed as a co-creator assisting a Carmen H a couple of floors above me, so I made my way to the closest elevator. In that distance alone, my eye was caught by a number of displays that tempted me to stay and browse, but I knew I should focus on my task at hand first, or I'd be meandering all day. I entered the lift with a handful of other festival goers and pressed the button for the second floor. A man with disheveled hair rambled to himself next to me, and I asked him if he was all right. He looked at me and smiled a bit sheepishly, although I could see anxiety in his eyes. "Thank you, miss, but I'm fine." I thought something felt off, but it was nothing. "I'm Trajita, nice to meet you." We shook hands and parted ways just as soon as we had met. He continued further up the tower, and I stepped off onto my floor. Another sprawling showroom. My map led me to a space in the corner of the gallery that had been cleared out to make way for Carmen's piece, some kind of mechanical bull attached to a circular track. When I arrived, Melvin was on top of the bull preparing for a test run. Carmen waved me off away from the track and began running the test. "Prepare yourself, Mondo," she shouted. "Hit it, Carmen, this is what I was made for," Melvin replied back with vigor that betrayed his age. The machine roared to life and began traveling around the track, while at the same time gyrating and rocking wildly in an effort to throw Melvin off of its back. He held on valiantly and would have likely made a full rotation if not for a horrible screeching sound that prompted Carmen to deactivate the bull as it went into the third quarter. "What did you do to it this time, Mondo?" Carmen asked. "I thought you said it was ready." "Hold on, let me give it another look." Melvin said as he dismounted. Carmen turned to me now that the test had concluded. She was a younger woman with short curly hair and a desire to make mistakes. We greeted each other, and she was excited to present her piece to me. A mechanical bull meets a roller coaster. I call it the go-round. This is the first prototype, but it's shaping up, she explains. I asked her what it meant, but she seemed confused. According to her, she built it for fun and nothing else. I figured that was fair enough and didn't press further. I asked if I could speak to Melvin, and she waved him over to me. He was a much older man than Carmen, at least 30 years her senior if I had to make a guess. There was no hair on his head, save for a finely trimmed goatee. I asked how they knew each other. Melvin was a longtime family friend of Carmen's, and since he was a handyman and master tinkerer, he agreed to accompany her to the showcase. I inquired with Melvin as to if he ever knew a Felix Perpin, being sure to recount all of the details that Vincent and Harper had shared with me. At first he seemed unsure, but after mentioning I was his granddaughter, he took a look at me, and something clicked. Oh, Melvin exclaimed. I remember now. He looked just like you. Or, you look just like him would be more accurate, right? He recounted the day that he and my grandfather, along with the rest of the rescue team, found that boy and got him to safety. Melvin was the first to check him for injuries and apply first aid. When Felix tried to hand him off to us, the kid didn't want him to leave. He wasn't his dad or anything, so he thought, what gives? But if it comforted him, and if your granddad was fine with it, we didn't see any harm. Melvin went on to explain that my grandfather accompanied them in their vehicle on their way to deliver the boy to his family. After confirming that the boy was okay, he stayed close to Felix the entire way, and they spoke to each other quietly. Melvin remembers finding this strange, but thought it would be rude to say anything. After all, the boy was likely traumatized. Who was he to criticize his behavior? All that they were able to gather about him was his name and address. He had seemed apprehensive to speak about anything else. His name was Jadaniel Lifther. I remember because it was a name I never heard before. It's kind of weird, right? Melvin noted. They arrived at a camp where affected families were being helped, and where the team was informed Jadaniel's family was. The team was informed that... They arrived at a camp where affected families were being helped, and where the team was informed that Jadaniel's family was. They stopped in front of a tent from which a worried woman stepped out. She identified herself as Jadaniel's mother, and my grandfather walked him out to reunite the two. Before parting, they seemed to share one more secret exchange, and Jadaniel handed my grandfather something. The kid tried to be sneaky about it, Melvin laughed, but it was pretty obvious. My grandfather got back into the vehicle. Melvin asked what it was that Jadaniel had given him. Felix half-seriously feigned ignorance and dropped his act after only a second prompting. Still, he was reluctant to reveal exactly what it was, telling Melvin and anyone else who was curious that it was a secret. I guess the kid asked him to keep it between them. It annoyed the hell out of me, but I could respect it, Melvin said. After dropping my grandfather off back at the Grayer, Melvin and his team only saw him a couple of times in passing. Despite Melvin's continued asking, Felix never told him what Jadaniel gave him that day. Melvin and Carmen didn't have any more to tell me about my grandfather, but I stayed a little while longer to watch them conduct more tests and chat about the festival. Afterwards, we parted ways, and I explored the rest of the tower, or at least what I was able to see with the time I had remaining. My plan was to see one tower per day, but that was harder than expected. I'll spare you the details of everything I was able to see, because attempting to do so would unnecessarily protract this journal. Also, extensive documentation of all the exhibits at the 153rd Mieus Grand Showcase already exist, and cover much more and in much more description than I ever could. If you're interested in such reading, I would recommend Wonders of the Babylopticon by Corticia Cunningham, Adez Vaughn, and Yolanda Wilkins. However, I will go over the highlights of each of my days in brief. I decided to explore the Babylopticon systematically, taking on one of the suspended towers per day in a clockwise order, beginning with the Eastern Tower on the second day. In order to reach it, I took the transport pod system, officially dubbed as the Folksway. Again, much like a Ferris wheel, an array of several large pods moved in a rotation. 2 pods at a time would open their doors as they slowly passed the station, and passengers would step on as they glided past. I stepped in with a large group of about 30 other people. The interior of the pod was lightly furnished, simply providing a set of benches on either side. However, small displays were set up even in this fleeting space. However, small displays were set up in this fleeting space. Even in this fleeting space, which contained artworks, which a display doesn't contain an artwork. However, small displays were set up even in this fleeting space, which showcased artworks. I haven't used the word presented yet. Which presented artworks by students from various schools around the city. The top half of the pod was transparent, allowing us to see the other pods around us and take in the view of the city through the windows in the tunnel. The ride to the other side was leisurely, and I likely could have walked there faster, but I could appreciate slowing down the pace. I stepped off of the Folksway into the Amuleto Tower of Visual Mastery. Unlike the convention halls of the previous tower, this one was set up more so like a traditional museum. A circular hallway looped around the perimeter of the room, and one could branch off of this hallway into smaller rooms, each serving as a vaguely themed exhibit featuring several artists' works. Many of the artists themselves were not present alongside their pieces and were likely enjoying the other parts of the Babylopticon, but some sat on stools or stood by their artwork to offer some insight to anyone who would ask. One particular stone sculpture of a seahorse caught my eye, and I stopped to admire it. A man with a large rectangular mustache sat cross-legged on the floor to my right, who was also interested, so I took a seat next to him. The man's name was Ignal Sadim, and he was the sculptor himself. He told me of the numerous times that he had attempted to create that sculpture, only for it to fall apart before it was done. The point where the tail of the seahorse touches the base was very small and delicate care was taken to balance the weight just right. I haven't stopped marveling at it. For them to get it up here intact, it is more impressive than my own work, I think, he mused. On the third day, I visited the Vivaldi Tower of Music and Sound. The bottom floors resembled huge living rooms, furnished with chairs, couches, ottomans, and side tables, arranged into numerous lounge areas. Centered in these lounge areas were kiosks fitted with dozens of pairs of headphones, which allowed festival goers to listen to music while relaxing. On the penultimate floor were small soundproof rooms for live performances, and the top floor was dedicated to a full-scale concert hall. When I got to the top floor, a duet was on stage featuring a man and a woman. They were performing a song in 2 separate languages, Japanese and Italian from what I could hear. It was some sort of pop song. Not really my taste, but they were good. They sounded synthetic, which I initially chalked up to auto-tune or something similar. But when I met them after their song, I realized that they were synthetic themselves. The woman was a holographic Vocaloid named Saturn, and the man was a robot named September. I'd never encountered anything like them before, so being introduced to them both simultaneously was a shock. Despite their artificial origin, they were quite friendly and behaved very naturally. If I didn't know any better, I would have believed they were flesh and blood. "I hope you enjoyed our performance," Saturn chirped. "September and I worked hard to get it right. He did great, didn't he?" It was a valuable learning experience. I haven't done many duets, but I also had a lot of fun as well, September smiled. On day 4, I went to the Alighieri Tower of the Written Word. Each floor featured a regal library that not only served as a fitting and dignified display for the works from the featured artists, but also functioned as a typical fully stocked library. In fact, plans existed to keep it there indefinitely, which justified its higher degree of design and permanent fixtures. Unfortunately, lost my place. Unfortunately, these plans were disrupted by the ego war. I did not know this at the time, of course, but I elected to obtain a Babylopticon library card. The librarian I spoke to was a dry but courteous man named Werther Moffin. He had a thin head of hair and an even expression that was barely hidden behind his slender reading glasses. To my surprise, he recognized my name when I introduced myself. "I admire your work, Miss Perpin," he said. "You and your mother both. You have quite the interesting family, if you don't mind me saying so. Would it be right to assume you didn't visit simply to see the sights?" I confirmed his suspicions and explained that I was looking for details about my grandfather. In retrospect, I find it strange that he would ask a question like that, but at the time, the excitement of meeting a fan overrided such thoughts. Is that how you spell overrided? Overrided. Huh. Overrided such thoughts. Moffin listened to me with focused attention. He was busy, but took some time to think and recommended me book. He recommended me book. Read book, ma'am. He was busy, but took some time to think and recommended me a book. Allow me to recommend The Secrets of the Pendulum and Why I Don't Need Them by Pezant Swern. For a guide on hypnotism, it's not horribly exciting, but I think it may be useful to you, Moffin suggested. He pointed me in the right direction, and I thanked him for his time. Among the featured artist's books, which were marked with special red spines. It must have been late in the evening when I wrote this part. Special red spines. I found the aforementioned title. I intended to leave for the house early in order to read some of it, but predictably got lost exploring the tower. I eventually checked out my copy of Secrets of the Pendulum and went on my way. I hope you find what you're looking for, Miss Perpin. I'm looking forward to another remarkable story, Moffin said with a nod. The 5th day brought me to the Canali Tower of the Performing Arts. Each floor of this tower featured rows of rooms separated by soundproofed walls, and each contained a small stage and a number of chairs. As I ascended up the tower, the rooms became larger and larger until the top floor, which featured a fully sized auditorium. It was on the 2nd floor that I noticed a trio of mimes that attracted a disproportionately large crowd. I fit myself into their room and watched. The mimes stood side by side. The one in the middle mimed a box around himself. Standard fare, I thought to myself. Then, the two on either side of him began to press themselves up against the box with uncanny realism. They attempted to get the middle mime out by punching and kicking the box, until resorting to tipping the box over. Again, it was unreal how realistic their portrayal was. But it was topped off when the mime on the left threw their hat behind them in frustration, and it landed on top of the box, floating in midair. The room gasped and then applauded. A man with long hair and a smarmy presence came forward from the crowd. "You mind if I give it a shot?" he asked. The mimes looked at each other, and then back at the man. They nodded and beckoned him on stage. The man knocked on the box, then gave it a gentle kick. Finally, he took a seat on the box. He was shocked and began laughing. Oh, don't need that there. What? "You gotta be kidding me," he exclaimed. "How about that?" The man splayed his arms and kicked a leg in the air with a showman's flair. The audience applauded once again, and the mimes took their bows, then stepped off stage to take a break. They communicated to each other in sign language, but when I met the middle mime, he introduced himself to me as Shelby. He said he couldn't talk for long, but thanked me for attending the performance. Day 6 was my most anticipated. Oh, let me get some water. I didn't realize there was this much of it. We're almost at the end of what I have written so far, I promise. We'll actually get to writing new stuff this stream. Probably. Day 6 was my most anticipated. On that day, I was finally able to visit the Mississippi Tower of Cooking and Cuisine. Since my first day at the Babylopticon, the scents wafting from the tower into the central tower tantalized me, but I held steadfast. The entire tower was a multi-story world-class restaurant with a menu featuring dishes from the featured culinary artists. Although the menu items changed each day, so as not to have a menu that folded to the floor, the logistics of such an operation must have been a nightmare, and if I had thought about it for any length of time, I may have lost my appetite. However, I did not. I enjoyed one of the best meals of my life. And on the final day, Day 7, I entered the Furlano Tower of Combat Technique. Throughout the week, an interdisciplinary exhibition fighting tournament had been taking place, utilizing various arenas of differing shapes and sizes that were spread out across the tower. There were about 6 to 10 raised arenas set up per floor, with room enough for spectators to gather around them. Since I was there on the final day, many of the arenas were empty. However, small stands were set up next to each to allow for visitors to see results of past fights and even watch highlighted clips. All of the action was happening on the top floor. Stepping foot inside was like traveling to a different world. Suddenly, I was no longer at an art festival, but at the main event of a WrestleMania. After adjusting to the bombastic lighting, I was able to see before me a massive arena. The stands were filled with excited spectators that charged the room with competitive energy. I took a seat just as the match was finishing, and at its conclusion the audience roared. Quite a different experience from the last 6 days, but I strapped myself in for it. I witnessed the last 5 matches of the single elimination bracket, which culminated in a grand finals bout between Lysaea II, a tall, muscular woman with dreadlocked hair, and a masked man in layers of regal orange and blue cloaks, who went by the stage name CRVFR, pronounced Carver. They were seated in the bracket first and last, respectively, owing to Lysaea's overwhelmingly ferocious id-fist style, which channeled her fighting spirit into her strikes as blood-red energy, and Carver's obscurity. However, Carver upset everyone along his way by using a baffling technique that felled his enemies in a single strike. Half of the crowd rallied behind Lysaea, wanting to see the mysterious man's reign of terror come to an end, and the other half rooted for the underdog to take it all. They met each other in the center of the arena, and after the countdown, the fight began. Lysaea's eyes and fists flared with red energy, and she immediately went on the offense with a heavy right hook. Carver was ready for it and ducked underneath. He retaliated by striking her in the gut. Lysaea reeled backwards. Carver, thinking that he had just won, preemptively turned to the audience and took a bow. Lysaea recovered from the attack and decked Carver in the back of the head while he was distracted. Should that be, I think that should be whilst he was distracted. It was not an instant knockout, so she finished him off with a devastating uppercut. She shouted victoriously, and her eyes and fists flared once again, expelling excess energy before dissipating. The announcer handed her a microphone. "My victory speaks for itself. You have witnessed my strength, and now I go. To those who would challenge me, I am ready. The second queen reigns," Lysaea exclaimed. The audience erupted, and Lysaea exited the arena without another word, leaving Carver lying on the floor. Whew, okay, and that is all of, that's the narrative part so far. There's still a little bit left. The part that I have yet to do is at the end of the festival is going to be where they announce like who won the festival, because it's kind of like an art contest plus festival at the same time. And the winner of all 7 categories at the same time is going to be a guy named Kreshichwick. And the result of him winning this tournament, like all of these at once, which hasn't happened in the history of this festival, inflates his ego to such a huge degree that his ego manifests into these ego monsters that start terrorizing everybody. That's what I have left to write, and that would be the story for the base set. Whew, okay, so that was a lot. Hold on. But now I can actually begin doing stuff, writing new stuff. So this be the biography section for each of the playable artists. I think last time we finished all the culinary artists. Or we did all the crafting. We were beginning the culinary. Let's see. This. Okay. So let me pull up the list of artists here. I don't know if I should list every one of them. Because it's a lot of them. There's 43 artists, of which we've wrote bios for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, 9. This one's a duplicate. A dupe, if you will. So, next, we'll just get right into it. The next artist is named Kremet Raquette. She's a culinary artist. Her specialty is wine. She is French. You know what? I don't know. See, I've been thinking about a few things about the stream. I want to keep the narrative part, or not about the stream, about the lore here. I want to keep the narrative section, but I wonder if writing a bio for every character is overkill. You know what I mean? Would it even make sense? Because this is from the perspective of one person. So maybe only do a bio for every artist that she's personally met, or every artist that's mentioned. I don't know. But I have been considering a couple of things about the stream itself. I'm wondering if maybe, like, I'll see this through at least this week, but I'm wondering if maybe, I don't know. A part of me kind of just wants to do all my creative stuff off stream and just dedicate the stream to like gaming stuff. But I don't know. That's just a thought right now. Let's see. Now, a backstory for, what does she look like? She's a little disheveled. She's a little snooty. She's a vintner. I'm pretty sure that's the name. A vintner is what you call somebody that makes wine. I'm not taking the lore for this game very seriously. So we can do some, we can have some, you know, lighthearted backstories here. I'm thinking like, the angle I'm taking for most of these is, you know, what brings them to being the artists that they are, you know? Like what event in their life happens to drive them to, you know, whatever specialty. Is there anything particularly special about red wine? It just uses a different type of grape, right? Like, red grapes? No, that doesn't sound right. Are there red grapes? No. Yeah? Yeah. The problem is I don't know, like, anything about wine, really. All right. I always come to the same thing, right? You just have to put something on the page. Anything really will do. There's nothing worse than the blank page. Nothing. I feel like I'm starting everything with A, though. A vintner. Vintner. Alright, I'm not just making this up, right? Vintner is the right. Vintner. A wine merchant, one who makes wine. Okay. Relatively new to the industry. Connoisseurs. Of wine connoisseurs within Europe. A vintner relatively new to the industry who has quickly drawn the attention of wine connoisseurs within Europe. The catacombs. That's in France, right? Like under Paris. Here's a concept. What if she or her family found like a wine recipe in the catacombs of Paris? And that's what they used to bring themselves into like fame and fortune in the wine industry. Let's see. When they're relatively new to the industry, has quickly drawn the attention of wine connoisseurs within Europe. You wouldn't call it ancient, right? If it was buried with somebody in the catacombs. You'd call it antique. Her claim to fame is an antique. What do you do with wine? You ferment it, right? I feel like calling it a wine recipe is wrong. Like, that sounds wrong. Well, I'm seeing that there are wine recipes. I guess that's fine. And fame is an antique recipe. Within the catacombs of Paris. Her claim to fame is an antique recipe located by her family deep within the catacombs of Paris. Macabre, though some find this too or even suspicious for their taste. Though some find this too macabre or even suspicious for their taste. Many enjoy the taste and find that the dark origin gives a unique edge to the brand. Macabre, even suspicious for their taste. Many enjoy the or for their taste. Well, I use taste twice. Though some find this too macabre, even suspicious for their taste. Many enjoy the... What's another word for taste? Thesaurus. Are there any synonyms for taste? Taste. Zing, oomph, punch, piquancy, palatableness. Many enjoy the unique zing. Zing. What am I saying here? Though some find this too macabre, even suspicious for their taste. I could just change this to liking. Many enjoy the taste, citing it as not quite like anything else. Enjoy the taste, citing it as not quite like anything else, as quite unlike anything else. Quite unlike. Many enjoy the taste. Describing it as both sweet and smoky. Can you have smoky wine? Smoky wine. Yeah, okay. Wine can be smoky. Sweet and smoky. Describing it as both sweet and smoky. And of the brand, a unique edge. Actually, I should put this after the Paris. Deep within the catacombs of Paris. These dark origins are leaned into within their branding. With a unique edge. Though some find this too macabre, even suspicious for their liking, many enjoy the taste, describing it as both sweet and smoky. So, these usually come in two parts. A description of the artist and what they're doing and, you know, how they came to be. And then a little sentence describing how they ended up in Mieus for the events of the game. Kremet is not in the festival, but she is in town. Kremet was in Mieus. Kremet was in Mieus for a wine tasting. The Ego War began. Kremet was in Mieus. I'm thinking, cause like, do you open up a wine store, or do you, like, if you're a vintner and you supply your wines to like a restaurant or whatever? Do you like go there and like have a little like wine party, like a little wine reception? Actually, you know what? What's a Mieus? Attending a wine reception. Kremet was in Mieus attending a wine reception for the opening of a her friend's new restaurant. And the egos began to attack. Boosh. There we go. It's 7:11 p.m. and we've just done our first one. Control V. Control V. And I need a little funny thingy. A little funny. Little coronary, nationality, French. I'm thinking maybe something to have to do with, like, burial or, you know, something catacomb related. Something like would prefer to be cremated, maybe. Something like that. Was it Charlie Brown a little derogative? I don't know what that means. It's a little random, but I don't know. I like Charlie Brown. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm gonna put that there until I think of something better. Cormet Baguette. Well, she makes wine, not bread. I don't know. I think Cormet Raquette rolls off the tongue a little bit. A little bit better. I think there was a reason why I named her Raquette, of all things. I don't know if there was a particular reason. There must be another French character then. There are a lot of French characters in this game, I found. It's, is France close to Italy? France is next to Italy, isn't it? Yeah, so it would make sense that there's a number of French characters. Because this game takes place in a city-state in Italy. The next character is Guy Lin. Guy Lin. Yeah, he is from an Asian country. I don't know which one, though. I'm not well-traveled enough to know where somebody named Guy Lin would be from. Thailand? Guy Lin. I wonder if, like, I just look up Guy Lin. Will I find anything? Guy Lin. Taiwan. Thailand. Yeah, Thailand and Thailand are different, aren't they? So they can be trans, very inclusive. Well, you can be trans if you're from anywhere. You don't have to be from Thailand to be transgender. But Thailand. I wonder what he's a chocolatier. Thailand chocolate. I wonder what the chocolatier the chocolate scene is like in Thailand. Chocolate shops in Bangkok. Chocolate bean to bar. Names. Okay. So we'll say he's from Thailand. We'll cut that out. Now, what is this guy's backstory? His specialty in game is chocolate drizzle, right? So he, you know, he's all about, you know, chocolate. What led him? What led him to a life of chocolatiering? Either that, or we could just describe, because there's two routes that I've been taking with these bios. Either like their little backstory, or sort of like what the state of their practice is at the current moment. I guess that just depends on what I can think of. I prefer the backstories. They're a little bit more interesting. Wait. His nationality isn't Thailand, it's Thai, right? If you're from Thailand, you're a Thai person. There we go. Save. Let's see. W. Just to put something there. Just a placeholder. Chocolate. One day, he visited a magical chocolate factory owned by a wacky and zany chocolate maker named Willy Wonka. I'm kind of getting stumped by myself here. Gee. What's your story, Gee? What's your thing? A Thai chocolatier. Sure. I'll leave him be for now. Let me W. Let me go ahead and put down the next one. Who would be Rat Lean? That did read. That's a good one. I don't know how many of you chat are on Reddit. Didn't read. I hope you don't think less of me because I'm a Reddit user, but one of my favorite subreddits is it's called Name Nerd. Well, okay. One of my favorite subreddits is I Made Up a Name. But is this just straight up Is this just straight up Undertale? Oh, it is. Okay. Hopefully this won't be copyright claimed. But I'll try to talk over it. So one of my favorite subreddits is I Made Up a Name, which if you're on Reddit, I would suggest checking out. It's very funny. It's just people make up names, and it has like 300 followers. But another subreddit that I'm on is Name Nerd Circle Jerk, where people talk about like really horrible names people are trying to give their kids. And a big meme is Ratleen, just because of how just horrendous of a name it is, and I thought that was funny. So I named this character Ratleen. You can't see the character art, but she has Ratleen energy. Some might call it crackhead energy, if you will. And appropriately, Ratleen's specialty is perfect black coffee. So she's yeah, she's always a little juiced, if you know what I'm saying. W. I've never played Undertale. Also, I hope you don't hate me for that either. But I have never played Undertale or Deltarune. I don't necessarily intend to anytime soon. At this point, I've just been spoiled on the story, so I don't know if there's really a point. It looks fun though, but yeah, I mean, the big draw I feel was always like the story, so can't really experience that now because I know what happens. Ratleen. Ratleen is not Canadian. She is nationality. American? Wait. I think before I did USA. No, I did not. American? Okay. Yeah. Never mind. I just sometimes I worry that I'm not being consistent. You know, I want to be consistent. Boop, boop. Fingers in is that? No, never mind. So what happened to Ratleen? How did she become who she is today? The first thought that came to mind was that like she accidentally drank like an entire pitcher of coffee, thinking that I was like Coca-Cola or something. That you know how like when you leave Coca-Cola out for too long, or like you leave it in the fridge or whatever, and like all the bubbles go away, like it's not condensation, all the, what is it called? The stuff that makes soda fizzy. The carbonation. All the carbonation is gone. It kind of looks like coffee to the untrained eye. Whoa. Okay, that took a shift. It kind of looks like coffee to the untrained eye. So I'm thinking like she accidentally drank like this big old gulp of black coffee and it changed her. Something in her mind. You know. Of course, will that traumatize you away from coffee, though?
rat lean. What's a rung? I remember when I was a rung. When Ratleen was a young girl. She attended. In a friend's birthday party. On the counter were 2 cups. One for two cups. One was well, you don't put coffee in a glass. I'm thinking that the idea is that there were 2 next to each other, and she picked up the wrong one because you didn't know which one was which. But you don't put, you don't put coffee in a cup, and you don't put soda in like a coffee cup, or you don't put coffee in a glass. Well, I guess you could. Anybody in chat put coffee in like a tall glass? Because that's just too much coffee at once, isn't it? Samantha at the time was a young girl. V. She attended a friend's birthday party. On the counter were 2 cups. Coke. Coffee. Coffee that parents left unattended. Well, the parents supervised. To remember which was which. Took a at that moment. Coke. I can just say Coke, can't I? The other was a cup of coffee. Like, Coke is a generic thing. I don't, like, in, this is a regional thing. I don't know where anybody in chat is from, right? But I live in Texas, and something that people say in Texas is that they refer to any type of soda as a Coke. I don't personally. I don't do that because it's dumb. But yeah, somebody could be like, "I'd like a Coke," and then the waitress would ask, "Okay, what kind?" They'd be like, "A Sprite." Like, okay, yes sir. That doesn't make any sense to me. But yeah, Coke can in fact be used as a generic term for those who did not know that. At that moment, something within her changed. Her molecules got all rearranged. You know what? Let me start over. I do like the idea of her starting as like a Samantha or something like that, and then her changing her name to Ratleen for some reason. It just makes it even worse. Geez, we are not making good progress here, are we? Who is Ratleen? Why is Ratleen? God, great. Now I have two blank profiles. What? Actually, you know what? I was thinking like somehow like the overconsumption of caffeine somehow changed her mind or something. But like, isn't the point of black coffee that it doesn't have caffeine? Or does black coffee have like a lot of caffeine? You know what? I don't want to make absolutely no progress today. So how about we do this? At the very least, like, put down all of the... Nope. Like, at the very least, put down all of the templates for later. How many do I need? 1, 2, 3. I closed that. Damn. I may just do this off stream. No, I need to do the narrative first, but I can't believe I closed that. Now I need to go through this directory again. So what do we got? Reed Winchester. Reed. Winchester. And Dylan. Is that right? Wendo Lynn Smith. Those are all of the culinary artists. B. For the sake of consistency, you know. Reed kinda reminds me of a Canadian. I don't know what that means. He just feels Canadian. I think he's also American, though. British. British. I'm really frustrated right now. I'm really stumped here. Okay, let's go back to Guy. Let's see. Specializes in chocolate. Chocolate drizzle, specifically. Maybe I'll try to talk you through my thought process here. If it's specifically chocolate drizzled, then that implies like liquid chocolate, right? Like chocolate sauce. So maybe maybe as a kid, Like he bought a chocolate bar, forgot about it, it melted, and then like it dripped onto whatever it was. And he was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool, kind of artistic, you know." And he's like, let's try that, you know. But under what circumstances would that make sense? What did he drizzle it onto? I'm really sorry, chat. I thought I'd be more on it today. I've hit some of like a block here. Yeah. I don't know. I don't want to give up, but I don't want to just sit here and do nothing either. I don't know if anything's going to come to me in the next 30 minutes, in the next 45 minutes. So, but I want to do one of these. Okay. How about this? Maybe Guy had like a plate, right, of food he was gonna eat. He had some like chocolate on one side of the plate, and then like, you know, some food item or something. Maybe like a what do they have in terms of like fast food in Thailand? Fast food. Thailand. And can you get like a pizza? I mean, surely you can get like some pizza in Thailand, right? So let's say maybe he had like a slice of pizza and then like a piece of chocolate he was gonna eat for dessert. Right, on the plate. Kind of weird. I don't know anybody who would put like a piece of chocolate on a plate like that. Like, you know, just because usually you just like pull it out of like a separate box in like your counter or something. But in this case, you know, he had them on the same plate, and then like maybe he left and forgot about it, and like the chocolate melted on to the pizza. He was like, well, don't want to waste the food, so I guess I'll try it. And he was like, this is delicious. I'm going to try that on other things. And thus began his fascination with drizzling chocolate onto things. I think that works just about as well as anything else. Let's try that. One summer day. In time. Melted onto the pizza. Initially, said that his meal was ruined. What is it? He went on a when you have like a small obsession for something for a little bit, he went on a little bit of a little, not a tear, a tangent. He went on an episode, a phase. He had a stint. He went on a there's a word for this. A spat. Astonished by the taste. Fascinated with could create with chocolate. Drizzled a bit. Combinations he could create with melted chocolate and drizzled a bit onto every meal he had for the next couple of months. from the store. Boom. One warm summer day as a teenager, Guy was spending time with his friends and was about to enjoy a slice of pizza when he became distracted. In that time, the chocolate he had set aside on his plate for dessert melted onto the pizza. Initially, he was upset that his meal was ruined, but not wanting to waste his food, he tried it anyway. Astonished by the taste, he became fascinated with what combinations he could create with melted chocolate and drizzled a bit onto every meal he had for the next couple of months. Dissatisfied with melting chocolate bars from the store, he set out to learn the intricacies of making his own chocolate. Guy was invited to assist. What was it? Cooking and cuisine. Copy. Okay. It's not that far down. Guy was invited to assist in the kitchen at the Damasco Tower cooking cuisine. During the showcase. Okay. I think that'll work. I think that'll do. But I think I'm gonna end the stream there. I tried. I spent most of the time recapping the parts of the narrative that I wrote off stream, which I don't necessarily regret doing. I just didn't realize it was that long. So, and I hit a bit of a block today. So we only got 2 bios done, but it's more than we had at the start of the stream. So progress is progress. Oh, I need to add a little thingy. Well, something about chocolate, right? Or maybe something like, yeah, the only thing he doesn't eat with chocolate is like peanut butter. Personality tie. You know, I haven't used favorite color yet. We'll save that for someone else. On our nationality tie. Let's see. What's something that's thematic? We'll keep it simple. I'll come up with something better later. But I think he would really like white chocolate. There, simple. That's something you would ask a chocolatier. What's your favorite type of chocolate? You know? So that's going to be the stream for today. Faux today. Again, I apologize for how little progress we made today. I think I'm more upset than anybody else in chat, honestly, but you know, it's a little irritating. I don't know if I'm thinking of maybe doing just gaming stuff on stream and doing my my creative exercises off stream. But I don't know. I do like doing other stuff on stream. I just don't know if it's like interesting for the viewer, you know. I mean, I started the stream so that I could motivate myself to do more creative things, which I think it's already accomplished that. I'm doing stuff off stream all the time now. So maybe it's fulfilled its purpose in that way, and we can just do gaming stuff. Give me an excuse to play some games every now and then. I don't know. I'm also considering streaming on Thursdays, but that's also not solid yet. So, yeah, there's a lot of things I'm thinking about right now. Things are a little amorphous. But if I do change anything, I'll make sure to let you guys know. That is, you know, if there's anybody actually in chat. I see a lot of names here. But I'm always paranoid that it's like that there are bots in my chat. I guess I don't mind you if as long as you're not spamming my my chat, but anyway. That's the end of the stream. Thank you for anybody that's here for supporting the stream, for watching, listening, whatever. I appreciate the support. And yeah, I guess that's it. I don't have anything else to say. So until next time, good night and goodbye. And I'm going to actually, a friend of mine is streaming right now. He's streaming Dark Souls Remastered. He just finished an Elden Ring run. But he's moving on to Dark Souls now. So he's at the very beginning of the game, as far as I know. So spoilers shouldn't be that big of a deal, but yeah, you've been warned. So how do I do this? Raid. Okay. So say hi to Asirk for me. And with that, 8 seconds. All right. Thank you. Good night. Goodbye. And have a good Tuesday.